Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Damik is here with me again for another video. Today, he's going to be reacting to my hot takes. Do you know what that means?
Nope.
I don't really know if I know exactly what it means either, but I think, to my understanding, it's like a strong opinion or like controversial, maybe, opinion you have. So, we're going to be getting your reaction. Some of them you might know because it's like things that we've talked about already, but some of them may surprise you. I guess we'll see.
Alright, let's get into the video.
Ready for my first one?
Okay.
Okay, my first one is big dogs are better than small dogs.
Yeah, makes sense. I feel like you think the little dogs are too yippy.
Do you think big dogs are better than small dogs?
Oh, it's big dogs, yeah. I have a small dog, so.
Oh, your family has a small dog.
Yeah.
Alright, number 2 is Wii Sports was the best video game to exist.
No. You just like the tennis people.
It's great. What's better than that though?
Most things.
You can play with friends, you can be like active.
You
Plus
like our VR Beat Saber?
Yeah, but I'm sorry, I don't think anything matches the music of
Roller Coaster
Wii
Tycoon?
Sports. No, not even Roller Coaster Tycoon.
Wow. You're wrong.
Okay, the next one is I think everyone should travel solo once in their life.
Have you?
Mm-mm. I haven't.
Okay.
But like I think everybody should. Like I hope to at one point. Even if it's just like in the States for a week, like you go somewhere and you just like figure things out on your own. I mean, I feel like it's good to just like find yourself, and I think like when you're alone, you're also more likely to like seek out the help of others, and you like meet more people than maybe you would if you were like traveling with other people. I don't know. Like I think you might get more out of the experience.
Is that just because you haven't really been alone before in your life?
Maybe.
What about people that have just lived alone for a while anyways?
Yeah, but there's something about like going to a place that you've never been to before, and like it's almost like making yourself uncomfortable and like pushing yourself like to grow.
So do you count like moving to a new city alone?
Maybe.
As that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, my next one is we should get rid of daylight savings time. Like it should be abolished.
Yeah, I agree with that now. Like it made sense back in the day with farming and everything, but technology nowadays I feel like it's less necessary and it's more annoying to have it, especially with my job programming and stuff. Dealing with daylight savings is not fun.
Yeah, and I also know from like a mental health perspective how it contributes to like seasonal depression. I don't know this for a fact, so don't quote me on this, but I thought I heard something about how it also can like affect physical health things, like heart problems or something like that. Like I read an article about it in grad school once, but I don't remember too much on it.
That would make sense, like for people that just follow a natural cycle during the day and always waking up at the same time, switching that, I'm sure does something.
Yeah.
Your body.
I do, because I like the winter cozy nights, you know, where it's like dark and you're just watching a movie, but I feel like you still get that regardless of whether it was daylight savings because it gets dark earlier.
Yeah.
Anyway, so.
Yeah.
Okay. My next one is I think for overall quality of life, most places in Europe are a better place to live than the States.
I would disagree. In certain aspects, yes. It depends what your goals are in life, I guess. Like if you're going for a more like simplistic lifestyle, I would agree with that. And like general.
So like, are you saying for the average person? Because I guess that's how I'm taking it, is like for the average person, if they just want like a good quality of life. The majority of Europe would probably be better to live in than the US.
Depends on the definition of a good quality of life. But like you typically have less in Europe, but if but that's also
your
good.
money goes further in the sense of, I think you can do more. Like, everyone that I know from Europe, I feel like has had way more experiences than most people in the US.
That's just by choice, though. Like, they're buying less things and instead choosing experiences.
Right. Yeah. No, I agree. But, like,
yeah.
I think that it's so dependent on, like, the culture that you are surrounded with. Like, you can sit here and say, like, in the States, like, I am not going to be as materialistic. And I think there are people who definitely are less materialistic. But when you're still surrounded by a culture where it's, like, so normalized, you're going to be more likely to feed into that lifestyle than you would if you were...
Yeah, for sure. I feel like here it's harder to be less materialistic because you're surrounded by that, so then focusing on experiences is harder. Mm-hmm. But I think in the US, the average person technically has more money, so they can do more experiences if they choose, but they're like here it's just so much advertising towards always needing to buy the same things as everyone else and keeping up with everyone else. So maybe the happiness levels are probably higher in a lot of parts of Europe, but not necessarily a better quality of life. It really depends on what you're considering a quality of life. Yeah. So I guess if your quality of life includes traveling to visit other cultures, then yeah, Europe would be better.
Or even like when we go out to restaurants or like pubs, it's like it feels so much different because people are interacting more than here. I feel like a lot of people are like on their phones all the time, and there's a lot less of that. I'm not saying it doesn't exist, I just think it's less prevalent.
That's why it depends on quality of life.
Okay, next one is, if more women were in power than men, like there was more women than men in power, there would be less wars.
Maybe. I feel like they're more likely to talk it out first, but the way wars are started isn't necessarily due to lack of communication. I feel like it's more of a cultural differences lately that have caused a lot of wars. So I don't think those cultural differences change depending on who's in power, or at least not quickly. It's not like if maybe you could say in a very, very long term of if a lot of other things change, but I don't think it's just going to be like, oh, someone else is in power now. Everything is different.
Fair, but I'm saying like if right now there were like 70% women in power and like 30% men, I think that there would be less wars that happen. And my argument for this is because I think like as an evolutionary thing, men have typically been like physically stronger than women, right? And so I think that like in order to survive, that women have had to become extremely like emotionally intelligent and be able to almost like fight more with their words and like even like learn how to manipulate people more. I mean, that sounds so like vengeful, but I think like it doesn't always have to be, right? Like sometimes you can manipulate people into like feeling better almost if they don't. I feel like women are better at talking things through and then getting to a point of mutual understanding than men are. I think men are on average more like prideful than women. You disagree?
I mean, I can't think of a war that was started by a woman recently, but
the next one is, I think meat is the worst part of any meal. Like if you have like a typical meal of meat, starch of some sort, and vegetables, I think that meat is the worst part.
Yeah, but you're wrong.
Why?
It depends, I guess, if the meat's bad, but normally it's
no, but it's not even like, even if it's all good, like if I go to a steakhouse, right, and get like a really good steak and then like mashed potatoes.
Yeah, people go to a steakhouse for the mashed potatoes.
I do. It's the least enjoyable part of the meal. Like I'm not saying that it's.
Then why isn't it called a mashed potato house?
They should make one of those. It's not even like I don't necessarily like the meat. Like maybe that meat is very good, but if I had to choose to get rid of one thing on the plate, it would be the meat. If you have meat, a starch, and a vegetable, and you had to get rid of one of them, what would you get rid of?
It really depends on the meal. Like, you need the protein.
You can get protein from other things, though.
Well, yes, but what is the starch or the vegetable that's giving you the protein?
Beans.
I don't like beans as much, so I'd get rid of the beans.
Okay, so you're saying you'd get rid of vegetables?
That vegetable, yeah. Most vegetable. I like most meats over most vegetables, but there are some vegetables I like more than some meats.
Wow. All right. The next one is, I would rather pay more in taxes if it benefited society as a whole, even if it made me worse off.
That's what you're saying, or you're asking?
That's my opinion, I guess. My hot take.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I don't think governments tend to be the best at spending anymore, though, with taxes, so. Like, ideally, yes, if the money was spent efficiently.
Well, sure, but, like, you as someone who's, like, in the tech field and makes a lot of money, if we went to a society where, like, you got taxed a lot more, like, in theory, that sort of society would benefit you less than you are getting benefited from society right now.
Yeah.
I don't know, like, I watched this TED Talk once. I should find it and maybe, like, link it down below, but it was about this guy talking about, like, a society in which they almost had, like, obviously like a minimum wage kind of thing, and then they had like a maximum you could possibly make. And
okay, so a tiered tax income where once you're above a certain percentage you pay.
Well, it's not solely just taxes. I think it would also have to be like lowering the income of high earners, which theoretically, taxes,
the US used to have something like that where if you were making above, I don't know if it was like 600,000 or 400,000 or something years ago, that you were taxed at like a 95% interest rate or something.
Yeah, something that would like put everyone on a more level playing field. Even if it made me worse off, I'm saying I would prefer that.
Yeah, I think that could make sense, obviously, if the money's used better.
Okay, next one is, I think tea or coffee tastes better if you put the cream in afterwards.
I don't know what that means.
So, like, if you were to make a cup of coffee or a cup of tea, would you put the cream in first? Like, put the cream in the bottom and then, like, pour the coffee or the tea into the cup? Or would you put the coffee tea in first and then put cream in? Because I think it makes a significant difference.
I mean, I feel like people normally put it in last, but I can't say I know the difference. I don't think I've ever had coffee with the cream in first that I know of.
With the Keurig, you could take a cup of coffee, pour cream in, set it down. That's honestly what I do a lot more mornings because I'm lazy. And then make the coffee on top of the cream. Like, some people like that because it mixes it up and you don't, like, get a spoon to mix it up.
So are you going to mix it anyways if you put it on the top?
If I'm putting it on the top, I'm mixing it. If I put it on the bottom, I don't usually mix it. For coffee.
But by not putting it on the bottom, or by putting it on the bottom, the rest of the coffee pouring in just mixes it. So no matter what, you're mixing it?
Yeah. But
then I don't think it makes a difference.
No, I disagree, because I think that, especially with tea, you pour the hot water in first, let the tea steep a little bit before putting the liquid in. But with both of them, you can also control, like, I need to know the color of it to know how much cream should be put into it.
Okay, so you're talking about a different amount of cream to put in.
Yeah,
okay.
Like, but you can't measure it as much. It's not as measurable if you pour it in the cup to, like, because I don't know how much cream is going to be the right amount of cream. Because every mug size is different, too, so, like...
On your Keurig, don't you select a certain number of ounces?
The Keurig, sure, but I'm saying, like, with general, like, even if you're doing, like, pouring coffee or pouring tea.
I imagine there's a certain ratio you like, and then you can just know that.
Exactly,
like,
by
you
the
could
color.
Measure it.
I could measure it maybe, but I know it by the color.
Okay.
And I'm saying it tastes
so you like to pour it
better
in later just so you can pour in the right amount to get the right color.
Yes. And with tea, it tastes better because the tea has time to steep before you're putting the milk in. I think if you put, like, cold cream or milk in tea, it, like,
Okay.
diminishes the flavor.
I mean, that would make sense if the water's not as hot then.
Do you agree or disagree?
For tea, sure. For coffee, I think it's just you don't know how to measure it beforehand.
Okay, this is the last one I have. Ready? Time travel exists.
Theoretically, you can travel forward in time.
No, like time travel in general.
Like traveling back in time? Most likely not.
Wow.
Like the forward in time with just time moving at different speeds and different points in space kind of makes
like
sense,
the
but
magical type of time travel. Like the type of time travel that wouldn't be explainable by logic.
I feel like probably not, because we'd most likely know that if it did.
But why do you think we'd know that?
Because someone would have traveled back in time by now to say it.
Sure, but why would... First of all, if that person traveled back in time, what's to make you think that they would travel, like, then to now's time period? And even if they did travel back in time and come back, what makes you think they would tell the world?
I feel like a lot wouldn't, but there would have been that one guy by now that...
The one guy that people probably think is crazy and don't listen to what he says.
See? I don't know. I feel like the people sophisticated enough to time travel would be more sophisticated to not be the crazy
But
person.
I don't know if it's, like, necessarily whether or not you're sophisticated. Like, I feel like it's fate whether or not you're supposed to.
Okay, so like Outlander touching a rock and traveling.
Well, not necessarily the whole rock thing, but I don't know. I don't know exactly how it would work, but yeah, like it would be the same sort of idea of like everyone has a path to their life and your path might be varied. Otherwise, only the things that you would be able to comprehend could ever exist.
Well, I said it doesn't. I just said most likely does not. So I guess time travel could exist.
But do you know everything in the world that exists?
No, that's why I'm not saying it doesn't. I'm saying most likely it doesn't.
When I disappear, you'll know it's time travel. You weren't picked.
Not your solo travel trip?
That will be my solo travel trip.
Back in time or forward in time?
I would go back. 100%. I would rather go back than forward. And I know that's like
To when?
There's another hot take. Yeah, if I were to time travel, I would rather go back. Well...
To when?
It depends. Because...
On what?
Like, I feel like as a woman, there's so many more things that I have to think about. Because if I would want to go back to like 1800s, probably.
And your life expectancy is like 30 or 40.
Yeah, but I would be more so worried about like my safety in other ways as a woman, or like if I just showed up, people think I'm a witch and I get burned at the stake. Like like that sort of thing. But if I was like guaranteed safety, I would go back. Regardless, I think I'd go back. Like I would if I didn't know if I was guaranteed safety, I'd probably go back to like the 1950s.
Okay, that's a lot different than the 17 or 1800s.
Well, yeah, because it's like still not maybe the best for women, but it's like safer, obviously. So.
Solo travel as a woman in the 1700s.
Yes, but if I was like if I knew that I would make it back safe. 1700s. I would want to live in like a castle or like see what the castles were like back then when they were actually like functioning.
Curious how as a time traveler you're just gonna end up there in a castle.
I don't know. Maybe I'd get thrown in the dungeon or something because
that kind of living in the castle. Okay.
So are you saying you'd rather go forward in time?
I think it depends on a lot of factors of how the planet is shaping out, because...
Well, like if you had to make the choice right now, like
right
people are
now,
like, you can time travel, you meet a little genie, and he's like, you can either go back or forward.
I'd probably go back in time.
Really?
I bet, yeah.
Where? When?
Probably not that far back. Like they're...
You don't want to wear your tights? I thought you said your favorite era of fashion was the 1300s.
Yeah, but to actually be able to make more of a difference, I feel like a more sooner time that I have more experience in. But that's assuming you can also change history with your time travel theory.
I think I'd be scared to go forward because...
You don't know what was already there.
Yes, and I don't have high hopes for the future.
Nice. On that note.
Anyway, so that was all of the hot takes that I came up with. Were you surprised by any of them, or did you?
I had no idea what you were going to ask me, but for your answers, I guess no.
Okay, I guess I'm pretty predictable. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. Maybe in the future we can do like a I react to your hot takes video.
Yeah.
So if you want to see future videos, please hit that subscribe button below, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye!